Hey everybody, this is Ashley Arpel Steinbach, host of Locks of Laughs, work advice from me, and of course, movie torture, aka I am the queen of the Hopecast Network, or if you ask me, the queen bee. I hope you're all enjoying the amazing shows we have here on the Hopecast Network, and if you are, please don't forget to like and subscribe everywhere that you listen to or watch our podcasts.
Hi, I'm Laura. Join me on TV Torture with my husband Jacob for your weekly dose of TV breakdowns, rants, and marriage therapy. You'll laugh, you'll cringe, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start questioning your own TV choices or your partner's. Don't miss it. Listen to TV Torture wherever you get your podcasts. It's the only place where the shows are torturing me and my marriage is just collateral damage.
This is the Hopecast Network. Stories and shows you actually want to listen to.
MTD on I Trained Voorhees. The untold story of the horror icons and the man behind the masks. Plus why fat comedians rule. Chapter 11. The Twilight of My Career. Reflections on the glory days of training horror icons. The glory days. I can practically hear the echo of screams, mostly from actors I trained, and the rustling on my Hawaiian shirts as I reminisce about my time molding some of the most iconic horror figures to ever grace the silver screen. It feels like a lifetime ago when I stepped off my bike cop patrol into the peculiar yet fascinating world of horror film training. A decision influenced largely by the need for a better career prospects. After all, biking around looking for unpaid taxes can only fill your soul and wallet so much. Training Jason Voorhees was like trying to teach a walrus ballet. Impossible for someone with my kind of crazy ideas, yet somehow it worked. There I was, donning my killer training cap, which much to the dismay of my son, is not an actual hat, aiming to bring a certain finesse to Jason's lumbering gait. When other trainers focused solely on the violent aspect of slashing, I brought drama and an art to the iconic walk. He was a villain, sure, but why shouldn't he also be a misunderstood artist, reminiscent of a happy-go-lucky lumberjack who just happened to have lost his way, and an eye or two? And then there was Michael Myers. Oh, Michael. When I got the call about training him, I thought, surely someone is pulling my leg. Training someone with no visible expression is like trying to reach stand-up comedy to a brick wall. Yet there we were, and we connected in ways I never imagined possible. I taught him how to master the art of a quiet menace. And you know what? The man, or rather the faceless killer, had a natural talent for stillness. We bonded over late night kills and, of course, a shared love for horror music. No one can deny the efficacy of a good synth score when it comes to striking fear in a cramped space. Plus, he made me a pot of jello. Just kidding. I couldn't quite get him back into the advertising game. But perhaps my most cherished memory is of those late nights under the bleachers of local high schools, training my iconic alumni to be relentless murderers while hoping I could pay off my mortgage. Imagine the bizarre looks I received strolling around in my sweatpants, while the rest of the world was asking, why isn't he wearing something cooler? If only they knew I was prepping future horror legends. Sure, my own son laughed at my choices, but deep down, I knew he was a little proud. Has he ever trained a Jason? I think not. One of the best advantages of being at the helm of such wonderfully absurd ventures was the level of camaraderie and ridiculousness that surrounded me. Picture this: a group of actors rehearsing a climatic chase scene while I coach them through things like body language and the finesse of theatrics, all while juggling a half loaf of bread in one hand and a script in the other. The sheer absurdity of it still leaves me chuckling to this day. I used to tell them that run is just walk with purpose. And after many trial runs, I'm convinced I could have won awards for my overly animated demonstrations. Now that I reflect on those training sessions, a profound sense of nostalgia washes over me. You see, amidst the horror-filled antics, I also forged unbelievable friendships. Memories that can't be conjured by corrupt tax collection policies or whispered jokes about fat comedians being funnier. My days of training were filled with marvelous mishaps, and each moment has brought an extra layer of character to my twilight years. Yes, my days training horror icons may be behind me now, tucked away like that dusty Hawaiian shirt I never wore. But as I cranked the Subaru to head out on one more silly adventure, I enjoy every laugh and scream that echoed in those training sessions. With every retelling, I realize the true essence of those glory days, a sense of belonging within the chaos, a killer legacy, and a rather strange notion that maybe, just maybe, we're all a little mad. But you know what they say. If you're not a little mad, you're missing out on the fun. So here's to the glory days. And let's raise a toast. Imagine the glass. To the training of legends. The wisdom gained from successful and unsuccessful endeavors. The sweet nectar of wisdom. I mean, it's like that one leftover slice of pizza you find in the fridge after a wild night out. Sometimes questionable, but when you dig in, oh boy, it reminds you of the good times and the questionable decisions that led to it. My journey as a trainer of horror icon has been a roller coaster of successful memories and, let's just say, bosh attempts that could fill a horror script on their own. Yet through every missed mark in horror film mishap, I've gathered nuggets of wisdom that I carry with me like a trusty knife from Camp Crystal Lake. Starting with the successes, those exhilarating moments where everything clicks. Training Jason Voorhees to craft his iconic lumbering strut became one of those triumphs. Though I don't think anyone should audition for a creepiness award based solely on my coaching. I instilled in him the underlying importance of presence. You don't just chase your victims. You need to make them feel your frightful aurora. Like I always say, walk like you mean it. This mantra not only transformed Jason into a horror legend, but also magically helped me in my personal life. After all, strutting through a grocery store inspired by a fictional killer definitely garners some odd looks and a few laughable comments from onlookers. Conversely, not every training session turned me into the world's leading motivator. Take the time I attempted to teach Michael Myers how to smile, which is shocking considering he has no visible face. Talk about a challenge. Sometimes I could swear he was really just a method actor with a penchant for staring blankly. If your victim can't see your eyes smiling, don't bother, Claire, only to receive a blank stare in response. Who knew training a killer meant navigating touchy subjects? Eventually, I learned this. Some characters are best left untouched, and coaxing a smile from a faceless man is about as effective as getting Adam Sandler to do Shakespeare. Within the realm of unwelcome lessons, say hello to the day I opted to train Ashley Arpel in a more dramatic role. You see, as her agent, I assumed I had a knack for micromanaging her horror persona. We tried the scary whisper technique, and let's just say the neighbors didn't appreciate her implementing at 2 a.m. with horrendous falsettos. If a comedic actress fears horror, maybe it's time to regroup. The fiasco taught me that sometimes the right strategy is to stand back and let talent shine instead of putting them through the meat grinder of my brainy ideas. So I learned the importance of knowing your team's strengths. If they're built for comedy, let them serve up laughs instead of letting them tread into nightmare territory. I have to reflect on the balance between successes and failures, akin to a perfect recipe. Like any great dish, every ingredient matters. Too much drama, and it becomes corny. Too little suspense, and the horse sinks to mediocrity. That's why seasoning each training session with an understanding of individual styles is key. An unforgettable lesson learned from watching countless whodunit films. Just like adding a pinch of salt can elevate a meal, sometimes the softest words suffice instead of a strict yelling, especially when your actor thinks you're bloodthirsty. Trust me, I've received my fair share of shrieks in response. In addition to wisdom from what I've attempted in training, I also gained a unique perspective on life's curveballs, especially those that resemble a poorly executed scene in a low budget horror flick. For instance, I once mistook a shopping spree for a training seminar in the art of stealth and precision. How could I know that sneaking through the clearance aisles at the local supermarket could lead to a delightful but loud encounter with a pineapple display? But hey, those moments reveal the beauty in life. It's not always about achieving the ideal horror scenario. Sometimes it's about the laughter you create when disasters unfold. At the end of the day, the wisdom I've accumulated from my brush with the macabre is as valuable as it is humorous. The peculiar blend of success and failure taught me more than a few life lessons. My journey unfolded lessons on personality, style, and self awareness, proving that sometimes you learn mostly by failing. So pick up the slice of leftover pizza, or metaphorically speaking, those odds and ends of wisdom, and embrace the delightful blend of craziness. For in this life, there is no mistakes, just outrageous stories waiting to be told. Embracing aging, the physical and mental changes. Aging, it's like the slow realization that your killer instincts is getting a little rusty. That sagging donut of a belly isn't just a costume choice, and that your dreams of becoming an acclaimed horror icon trainer come with a sprinkling of gray hair. Welcome to the club, my friends. It's a hilariously absurd journey filled with knee creaks and, dare I say it, existential reflections that make you ponder if you still have what it takes to frighten the socks off a generation of moviegoers. Let's dive into the physical changes first. It's a bit like waking up on a day to find out your body was swapped you for an older model and it forgot to include the useful features. I once leapt out of an invisible bush, part of my ill-fated training stealth module, only to discover my knees audibly protested the stunt. Not quite what you want when crafting an air of fearlessness. Picture me landing with all the grace of a semi-truck and groaning like I'm auditioning for a part in a low-budget horror flick. It's not exactly the image of a trainer who works with slasher legends. It's hard to convince actors that they should strike fear in people when you're cradling an ice pack on your knees and contemplating the benefits of taking up knitting as opposed to lunging. Of course, the changes are more than just physical. The awkward dance between endurance and reminiscence become vital as you confront your own metamorphosis. I remember gallivanting around Los Angeles giving advice to up and coming horror filmmakers with visions for their chilling masterpieces. Yet somehow, these days, I find myself lured into discussion about arthritis remedies over lunch. Where did the time go? Shouldn't I still be the spry trainer who preaches the importance of lunge capacity while pretending to lunge at unexpected victims in the park? Instead, I appeared to have traded my athletic vigor for the warm embrace of early bird specials. You might think that aging would mean less passion for the craft, but in truth, it stirs elastic emotions within. I may have traded in my bike cop uniform and the exhilarating chase of catching non task compliant cyclists for the warm, cozy embrace of navigating life's shifting priorities. My dear friend Jacob, the Godfather, reminds me of my purpose every time we indulge in crackling conversations about horror and the past. I tell them that now our scares come with dashes of wisdom, conversations that explore fear not just as a killer's blueprint, but a source of reflection. We often joke about how we need to keep our hunters guessing, though I think we're actually the ones being hunted now by time itself. Yet with these changes does come wisdom, the age-old gift that sprinkles itself over those who live long enough to see through the lens of ridiculousness. I've learned to appreciate the simpler things, like quiet afternoons and the soothing sound of podcasts, all while drawing parallels to my past life. You grow to love the absurdity of an endeavor, whether it's training a horror villain or lovingly making peace with the fact that you're no longer first choice. Mentally aging brings the nifty realization that comedy often flourishes for the absurdities of existence. Who would have thought? Though I still assume myself by insisting fat comedians are the funniest, I now realize they might be addressing the heart of the human experience with unapologetic zest. Despite my battering body and contemplative cranium, I find solace in the process of embracing the unpredictable adventure. I may possess the physical prowess of somewhat confused tortoise, but mentally, I'm a pumpkin spice latte at a horror film festival. I love dishing out advice to film crews struggling to harness their inner killers while weaving a laughter infused narrative. It's like guiding inspired actors toward their path, wrapped in sarcasm, allowing us to celebrate life's peculiarities, much like a haunted house where every corner brings a spooky surprise. And I'm proud to be the wisecracking ghost. So here I am, weaving through the realization of aging with humor, and perhaps gaining confidence in my real resilience amidst all the creaking and groaning. Training horror legends may have been my playground, but aging has transformed it into a treasure trove of wisdom where every wrinkle tells a story. I hope to continue evolving, becoming a character richer in experience, finding joy in the ridiculousness, and savoring the past as I become part of the very legacy I sought to shape. Aging may be inevitable, yet embracing each eccentric phase is where the true beauty of life and horror resides. The importance of a legacy in the horror industry. Legacy in the horror industry is as vital as a killer's signature weapon. Without it, characters fall flat and stories lose their spine. It's the thread that binds the scary tales together, reminding us of the creepy yet captivating prowess of icon villains who've terrified our dreams and filled our popcorn laden movie nights with chills. As I reflect on my time training legendary figures of fright, I can't help but understand the significance of legacy in a genre rooted in creativity and dashed of lovely lunacy. You see, every horror film is built on the foundation laid by those who came before it. I often tell aspiring filmmakers that in a world filled with creepy masked lunatics, their biggest competition isn't just the slasher tropes, but maintaining connection in the spirit of legacy. Why stick to a rusty chainsaw and jump scares when you can spin a tale that reverberates through generations? Think about it. What makes Michael Myers so enticing? It's the eerie background music, the slow lumbering approach, and of course, the spooky mask that has created a legacy so strong it could withstand even the most turbulent horror trend of the decade. The man has become synonymous with fear, all thanks to the meticulous crafting of his legacy. The training session. I remember one time training Jason to embody the essence of slasher stardom. We discussed his legacy over smoothies, healthy choices, I pointed out how, amidst his reputation as a campfire story, he is genuinely a figure you can't overlook. The kid is a testament to patience, trudging through countless cliches and reboots while staying true to the core of who he is. There's a beauty in building a legacy while not being afraid to take up the rusty machete and stir the pot every now and then. Horrific, perhaps, but isn't it invigorating to build layers atop chaos? Then there's the importance of a legacy beyond the flesh and blood characters of films. As a character of horror legends, I often ponder my own legacy. What exactly will my contribution to the cosmic horror playground be? I mean, aside from crafting the perfect training regimen for aspiring killers and proving the fat comedians are the funniest of them all. Every unforgettable encounter forms parts of my legacy, blending the comedy of my life, absurdity with the spine-chilling breakthroughs in coaching, inspiring the Dark Lords. It's almost poetic. A pinch of laughter, a dollop of terror, a slash of suspense of supreme absurdity. This is the essence of what should unite in my legacy. Furthermore, legacies don't merely rest with the characters. They flow through the hands of the creatures as well. Directors, writers, producers all craft their own narratives and distinct legacies throughout their stories. A true horror aficionado observes not just the chilling moments on screen, but the echoes of influence resonating from their predecessors. Alfred Hitchcock, for example, crafted suspense using whispers, shadows, and a malevolent edge that inflates even the lightest moments. It's about overcoming the temptation to simply create a run-of-the-mill shock and instead employ a tapestry of legacy drawn from the rich spectrum of horror history. Coaching is so much more than showing a killer how to look menacing. It's about embedding a legacy within the fabric of the industry. From each gruesome act of creativity to layers of humor that emerge amidst sequels of terror. It makes me chuckle at the thought of training a new generation of horror icons while weaving its bits of legacy into their stories. Picture me, rain checking my workout routine and analyze their backgrounds and encourage them to not just embody terror, but to mirror the legacies they inherit. It's the kind of world where laughter coexists in the shadowy corners of a haunted mansion, sprinkling humor throughout the fear. In essence, the horror industry legacy lies at the intersection of creativity, nostalgia, and our primal instincts. It shapes those who tread into the darkness and resonate with a connection that only the terrifying can understand. My experience in nurturing the next generation of macabre icons taught me that, while the scares may evolve, the legacy we build, whether as a horror fanatic, a trainer, or a laugh-inspiring observer, is paramount. As we cast figures into the somatic void, let us remember to blend terror and humor, imagination with respect, crafting enduring legacies that resonate with screams, laughter, and everything that squirms in between. Plans for the future. A legacy to leave behind. The future. It beckons like a shadowy scepter in a horror flick, often lurking just out of sight, whispering cryptic messages of what's to come, while I'm still over here navigating a modern world that seems to grow increasingly chaotic by the minute. As I sit and meditate on the question of what my legacy will be, I can't help but feel a blend of anxiety or hilarious anticipation. After years spent training horror icons, my thoughts turn to how I might reshape my image and contribute something meaningful to the genre that has consumed my life. And yes, while inducing a little laughter along the way. First and foremost, let's discuss my plan to create a school of sorts. Let's call it the MTD Academy of Quirky Horror Training. Imagine a whimsical place where aspiring filmmakers could dive deep into the art of horror with just a sprinkle of comedy. Here, we would passionately embrace the ludicrous while training would-be killers, focusing on how to deliver consistent creepiness while maintaining a candid sense of humor. I envision students sitting on benches shaped like gravestones, passionately discussing the ins and outs of effective jump scares while occasionally falling victim to practical jokes delivered by yours truly. A classic freeze frame moment where everyone erupts in laughter while trapped in the spine chilling beauty of. Trust me, I'd make sure they'd remember the joy of shadowy figures, surprise appearances, and laughing uncontrollably at monstrous cliches. And speaking of legacy, I've got this wild plan to pen a book that combines my training experiences with heartfelt insights about horror, humor, and a good laugh. Picture it. I trained Voorhees. Horrific tales from the dark side, plus why laughter should be on the murder menu. It'll be a hilarious exploration of the absurd moments behind the curtain of legendary horror, blending the terror of my training experiences with the juicy punchlines that kept me rolling through the years. Each chapter will spark laughter, whether it's reflecting on chaotic filming days or the silliness of trainers like myself whispering exaggerated anecdotes over moonlit campsites. I envision vivid descriptions of slasher training mishaps, coupled with nuggets of wisdom akin to, if you can't outrun them, just make sure to wear your comfiest shoes. Of course, what would a legacy be without a dash of technological savviness? I've been toying with the idea of launching an online course where aspiring horror experts can learn from tales of my wacky past. Welcome to MTD's Horror Training Course, where laughter meets legend. Not only will students dive into the mind-boggling aspects of the villain's ethos, but they'll also learn how to craft effective jokes and comedic moments that can triumph gravity-defying scares. Honestly, who wouldn't want to delve into a blend of fear and horror? The course may focus on lessons like how to review a horror film while maintaining your sanity, and creating characters who are as ridiculously zealous as your first introductory speech. But even as I lay the groundwork for my future endeavors, I can't shake off the thought of my friendships I've nurtured over the years. My pals, the Godfather Jacob, Roger, and all my crazy crew will be crucial in my foray into the upcoming era. Picture gathering where we brainstorm ways to merrily spread those jovial tales, crafting skits that encourage others to embrace their unique journeys to the humorous side of horror. Maybe we can gather around an open fire, sharing our stories while turning the classic campfire horror story experience into something that's equal parts spine-tingling and laughter-inducing. Above all, I want my legacy to demonstrate the humor and horror are closely intertwined, a fact I'll happily champion until the end of my twilight career. I seek to create a passion that not only reminds us of the goodness of laughter, but also shows that when we embrace our inner monsters, hilarity flourishes. So, dear friends, grab your popcorn and be ready for the ride. My future will be filled with reflections, practical courses, and endless laughter that resonates through the fog-shrouded realms of the horror genre. Who knew that age could be accompanied by such joy and a promise to inspire the next generation of comedic storytellers? Let future slasher icons remember my legacy as one fueled by laughter, a unique blend of themes and dynamics that challenges the age-old boundaries of horror while celebrating what it means to be human and a little bit weird. After all, if laughter can ease fear, then I'm here to ensure everyone can embrace both aspects, crafting a legacy that encourages confidence, humor, and a love for everything that goes bump in the night. Chapter 12: Four-Wheeling with Hannah. The appeal of off-road adventures. When you hear the phrase off-road adventures, what do you picture? Is it rugged mountains, deep mud pits, and exhilarating trails? Or is it a group of people, one of whom just realized they left their wallet at home and has a face smeared with enough dirt that they look like a Picasso painting gone wrong? Me? I prefer the latter. Nothing screams authentic off-road experience like your buddy Hannah getting stuck in the mud while attempting to demonstrate how easy it is to conquer the terrain, oblivious to the fact we're not in a Pixar movie. You see, off-roading isn't just about showcasing your driving skills, or lack thereof, on the trails. It's about embracing the unpredictability of life, much like I embrace my dream of training horror movie legends. Full of promise, an air of chaos, and the constant threat of spooky figures lurking behind a tree. Sure, we could go for a leisurely drive around the city in my trusty Subaru, quietly judging everyone on their bad choices in vehicles. But where's the fun in that? Instead, we venture off the beaten path where every bump and scrape tells a story, and every turn might reveal either a beautiful vista or a surprise hole big enough to swallow a small vehicle. Let's not forget that off-roading serves as the ultimate test for friendships. You never truly know your friends until you've tried navigating a treacherous incline with a broken GPS, only to find out that you've connected to a local farmer's Wi-Fi instead of the great outdoors. I remember the first time Hannah and I set out for an off-road trip. Armed with a map that was clearly older than my sense of fashion, we thought we could conquer the wilderness. Spoiler alert, we almost ended up in a cornfield, which would have made for an enlightening horror movie plot. Imagine this: the cornfield killers. Kettle corn or kettle no? What keeps people coming back for more off-road fun, you ask? It could be the thrill of getting down and dirty, battling nature and emerging victorious, or not. Personally, I believe it's the hilarity of watching your friends grapple with life's awkward moments, falling in mud, hopping into the car with a spider in their hair, or in Hannah's case, misjudging a jump and particularly launching herself off the side of a hill. You can't put a price on those priceless facial expressions. I mean, who needs horror movies when you have Hannah unleashing her inner superhero while trying to skim across a rocky creek? And let's discuss the aspect of the off-road gear. You know, those overpriced tools and the gadgets everyone claims you obviously need to have for an adventurous outing? What a scam. Half the time, I'm more likely to use a poorly packed lunch as a makeshift airbag than that fancy portable wench. Sure, I got one promising to save me from every possible off-road disaster, but let's face it, when you're stuck in a muddy pit because your friend's overzealous driving led us to catastrophic wheel spins, the last thing you need is a bright red gadget that claims to have revolutionized off-roading. I'd rather be elbow deep in mud while strategizing a way out than toss around an awkward device holding onto the delusion that it could assist me. Off-road adventure also forces me to connect with nature, or at least tussle with it, like a bad match with a raccoon over trash. There's something inherently groundbreaking about the experience. Unless you're literally grounded because your vehicle decided to perform a nice rest in the middle of a swamp, if you can survive a day bunker like in your Subaru, managing to eat half melted granola bars while battling bugs that seem to be plotting your demise, you've not only earned your off road badge, but also learned valuable survival strategies for when the world inevitably loses power. And they will, folks. So the appeal of off road adventure is clear: a little bit of mud, mildly embarrassing mishaps, and strength testing friendships all blend together to create memories worth sharing and laughing about for years to come. It's not just about dirt and tires, it's about finding joy and a sense of community in unexpected places. And if you happen to stumble across me stuck in a rain puddle while trying to perform a somersault out of my Subaru, rest assured that I'll still proudly shout, "I train Voorhees," while firmly believing that this muddy escape has more surprises up its sleeve than any film I've ever worked on. The importance of trust in friendship. Trust in friendship, the profitable glue that holds our weird little family of off road idiots together. If you think about it, trust is nearly as critical as having tires capable of tracking a steep hill, or having a friend who won't hijack your Subaru for a late night snack run. I can't tell you how many times I've put my faith in my friends, most notably Han, specific friend who insists on taking the wheels when I'm just out trying to enjoy an innocent afternoon of four-wheeling. It's a delicate dance, rooted in the understanding that they might throw you into a ditch, but it's all in good fun. Because at the end of the day, you need to trust your friends to provide you with moments worth laughing at, and that's a good thing. One of the most precious gifts in life is having a pals daring enough to join you on wild escapades, where trust becomes your invisible lifeline, akin to hoping that your fear of clowns is never given a real world manifestation during a camping trip. Like the time we all thought it was a brilliant idea to fiend an impromptu horror movie production right in the heart of the woods. Little did I know that I'd be relying on tight bonds with my friends instead of say Jason Voorhees to keep me from getting pickpocketed by a raccoon. Trust turned that impromptu film shoot from a potential horror into a riot of laughter. As we tripped over roots while trying and failing to film our masterpiece that perfectly captured the chaos of life. Let's also consider the trust and friendships lets you know who's got your back in a crisis. Like when a deer decides to frolic across the trail as if it's auditioning for its own reality show. You know the moment, the adrenaline surge, and you're like, where's the break? Where the whatever I'm supposed to do? As you swerve like a wild hare trying to escape its destiny, that's when trust kicks in. Your friend yells, "I've got this." And you can only hope they weren't referring to their snack stash in the glove compartment. When a buddy is there to yell directions, exaggerate the bailout plan, or even just cackle with you in the moment, you realize that true friendship isn't just someone to crave through the woods with. It's about being partners in foolishness. In our circle, Hannah has made it clear that trust goes beyond just being the designated driver. You'd think that after numerous off-road outings, we'd set rules in place to keep everything serene. Like, don't drive into that creek. But no, trust became the unwritten guidance, where she confidently swerves toward a large puddle instead. It's a trial and error trust exercise in lunacy. But hey, this is why we have each other. To say that was hilarious, even while dripping wet and reconsidering our choices alongside some bewildered squirrels. Moreover, trust can come in handy outside the vehicle too. Like when I'm trying to decide what greasy snack to pack for the day. You might think I'd trust my instincts, but let's be clear. We all know my palate is nothing short of questionable. A friend who knows your taste better than you do becomes like a demented Yoda in a world of uncertain life choices. Picture me wrestling with the decision between beef jerky and that weird vegan alternative I bought once on a whim as Hannah moves in to steer my hand towards the jerky, as if it's the only path to our friendship's long term valuability. Trust leads to laughter, combined with potentially healthier choices when your friends show up with snacks, refusing to allowing to you to wander down the supermarket's bizarre rabbit hole. Now let's touch upon the darker side. The inevitable moments you realize maybe that trust has been a bit misguided. It hits differently when you discover that one of your pals has boldly gone off the map, claiming to explore when all they really did was snatch the last piece of pizza. Friends should not be keeping secrets. They're supposed to share the pizza. Now you'll have to reassess your friendships very carefully, because if someone can't be trusted with food, how can you trust them with steering the Subaru down a muddy hill? We are complex creatures, and our friendships require careful navigation, like an off-road vehicle sans GPS. Ultimately, the importance of trust and friendship is reflected in the absurd and wonderful moments we share. Like chaotic joyrides through the wilderness, each miscalculation and laugh serving as a reminder of the unconditional support surrounding us. When you venture into the unknown with people you can count on, it transforms life's unpredictable twist into comedy routines, where falling into the mud is just another way to bond over shared memories. So, if I trust my friends enough to let them at the wheel, I guess I'm doing pretty all right. And by doing all right, I mean praying we don't end up in a horror movie, enjoying a well-earned burger, and never telling Hannah the true story behind the raccoon encounter. Memorable mishaps on the trail. The trails. The sacred paths where laughter, chaos, and glorious mishaps collide. When you gather your motley crew of an off-road adventure, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're not just signing up for nature's best view, but also front row seat to the slapstick comedy. I wish I could regale you with tales of majestic vistas and breathtaking landscapes. But let's be real. The best memories come from the obstinate trees, muddy holes, and our questionable collective ability to navigate. The trails have gifted us many memorable mishaps, often etched in our mind like hieroglyphics on frozen slabs of pizza. Let's start with the infamous mudslide of doom. It was a sunny Saturday, birds were chirping, and I foolishly assumed it would be a straight shot to the scenic overlook. But of course, Hannah, always the adventurous spirit, decided we should take that trail that ended up being nothing more than an animal's enthusiastic home decor project. The moment we hit the slushy mess the plot thickened, as our Subaru, bless its heart, lost its footing and transformed into a wild bull sliding through a rodeo. Imagine me clutching onto the dashboard while yelling, "Power through it!" as if I were in some bizarre sports commercial. Spoiler alert, my advice didn't work, and we landed, wheels spinning a perfect Michael Jackson moonwalk in the slick chaos. Then there was the fateful day when we coined the expression, Hannah's instant hike. Whispers of an exciting trail echoed fervently among our friends, sputtering us into venture forth into uncharted territory, a tempting field rife with wildflowers and promised photographic opportunities. As we wandered, we relished that moment of peace, until, of course, we discovered that this so-called hiking path was courtesy of overly excited beavers with questionable builders' licenses. How do you even explain getting stuck in a maze of reeds and mud, frantically pulling at each other while pretending it's all a part of the adventure? It's become an impromptu survival reality show. I could almost hear the ominous narrator say, in a world where friendships are put to the test, one group must escape the clutches of nature. As Hannah swung back and forth, caught in the plant life like a trapped marshmallow on a roasting stick. And how could I not mention the infamous missed turn indicate incident? I'll paint you a picture. The sun was setting, the golden hour batched the beautiful wilderness in a warm hue, and there I was, behind the wheel, trying to channel my inner racing champion. My friends were busy playing the role of adorable co-pilots, lightly critiquing my driving skills like backseat parenting professionals. That's when Hannah, yes, it's always Hannah. She's basically the protagonist of this comedic horror, shouted, "Turn here!" As I misjudged the angle and proceeded to trigger a sequence better left to action movies, the downward slope greeted us like an old friend, only to realize that we were now careening towards a natural water feature. The local pond. Let's just say, I couldn't have auditioned for a role in Finding Nemo as we emerged from the adventure soaking wet, both smiling and cursing in equal measure. Of course, there's a time we joined forces with Trent, that the conspiracy theory aficionado, who had convinced us that we could optimize our warranties through some secret trail only he had mastered. Turns out the secret was nothing more than a thinly veiled ploy to send us through an obstacle course crafted by disfigured squirrels. Each tree was barely avoided, became a testament to our failures. Like Jeep Grand Cherokee, the follies of off-roading. One wrong turn led us down a dip where only nature seemed to know the way out, forcing us to laugh out loud at our epic ineptitude. After getting lodged between thick brushes and honking at innocent bystanders judging us from afar, we all walked away victorious, if only because the squirrels classified us out-of-towners headed back to civilization. Memorable mishaps aren't merely inconveniences. They encapsulate the spirit of camaraderie, the glue binding us through thick and thin. We still chuckle about how I mistook a fallen log for a bridge, sending my friend Roger diving into a pile of leaves like an athletic competing in an Olympic Winter Games. And who could forget the lost dog incident when a group of puppies decided mid trail that they wanted to ride in my Subaru, complicating our mission for true adventure? Mentally, I was warmed by thoughts of becoming a canine Uberer, adding another chapter to my illustrious career. I trained Voorhees. Now I train dogs too. Ultimately, those mishaps on the trails become our cherished stories. The one to remember about our over last night campfire conversations, where one unmanship thrives over toasted marshmallows and questionable snack choices. Each bump, twist, and laugh serves as a reminder that life is meant to be a wild ride. Sure, our antics may have veered off course at times, but nothing bonds a group of friends quite like rolling in the mud, absorbing each other's glances of sheer bewilderment, all while indulging in the cozy warmth of shared moments. So when life throws you some mud, take it as an invitation to make memories. If you can avoid Hannah's diving, that is. Lessons from nature, survival skills. Nature, the great equalizer, and lush playground of lessons just waiting to be absorbed by the fair-haired adventurers. Or in my case, the slightly balding off-road wannabe guru. For every twisted tree branch and muddy puddle, I've learned a thing or two about survival skills that make me feel like a modern-day Crocodile Dundee. Important life lessons that could have saved me from some pesky mistakes, like thinking survival means knowing how to best locate a pizza joint in the wilderness instead of extracting berries from nature. Spoiler alert, you're better off with the pizza. Let's start with the art of building a shelter, because nothing says I've got my life together quite like huddling under a disheveled pile of sticks as you pray that the weather holds. It was a fresh spring morning, and my friends and I decided to take wilderness survival to the next level, anchored by the belief that we could create something magnificent with sheer willpower and minimal training. Well, it turns out that unless you're Bear Grylls, throwing some uncooperative branches together doesn't magically become a cozy cabin. No, it quickly develops into an exercise of futility as I found myself accidentally fashioning what looked like a cross between a tent and a modern art. I learned that day you might want to invest time researching this building shelter skill in advance, or at least ask Canada to stop trying to shove in decorative leaves to keep falling onto your heads. Spoiler, the squirrels loved it more than we did. Then there's the often overlooked skill of fire making, which is about as elusive as finding a good parking spot at the local mall. I mean, how hard could it be to create fire? You might you light a match and voila, right? Not when you're with a group of enthusiastic pals who generally believe that Woodstock was a guide on how to survive in the wildfire after a concert festival. Good luck gathering kindling from various mollusks, right? We spent what felt like an eternity resembling a failed bonfire festival. But as we labored, trying to spark a flame while simultaneously roasting marshmallows on our heads, I gleaned a few nuggets of wisdom. First, gather dry wood. Second, don't let the sprinkling rain dissuade you. And third, for heaven's sake, avoid listening to Trent while he explains how to start a fire, using only spoilers of upcoming horror films. Let's face it, no one wants an argument about the futility of Finnish horror movies while attempting to ignite kindling. Navigating without a GPS. Now that's a gem right there. My sense of direction is astoundingly poor. As in, my friends often joke, I could find my way into a zombie apocalypse and still manage to get lost trying to locate a baguette. Nevertheless, nature teaches you about positioning relative to the sun and other celestial bodies. One sunny afternoon, we hiked to the lookout. Little did I know, instead of focusing, I spent my time eyeing a large bush, insisting it resembled a bear's silhouette. As it turns out, nature was a rough teacher. My inherent ability to be confused about north and south pretty much led us away from the picnic site completely. So the lesson? Unless you want to be the lead character in Lost in Montana, it's best to keep an eye on the sun and avoid being distracted by the possibility of bears. In my case, my friends are particularly convinced I'm on the verge of creating a survival app entitled MTD's Guide, Navigating by What You Think You've Seen. Of course, no one survives without knowing what's edible and what's definitely not. I remember our first cheesy attempt at foraging. Hannah, eager to play nature's grocery store, plucked a handful of berries that looked mighty delicious, while the rest of us instinctively shrieked, "Are you sure?" Our trusted instincts couldn't save us from her drenching enthusiasm. As she munched noisily like she was at a 10-course meal, I recall slightly praying we weren't about to cue the horror moments where she transformed into the unpredictable goose. You'd think after that we'd become experts in identifying which leaves are actually edible. But how was I to know that half of my innate survival education came from TikTok videos instead of real life experiences? Honestly, who hasn't learned that dandelions are edible only after someone ate a cupcake made from the wrong green ingredients? Lesson learned, folks. There's a reason nature's candy has prerequisites. All in all, adventures in nature where mishaps arise create a rich tapestry of unforgettable lessons. Between building shelters that could double as modern art, striking a spark from sticks, directionally challenged walks, and the forging fiasco, we've seen it all. Just remember that true survival isn't solely about our ability to emerge from the wilderness unharmed. It's about bonding with friends over shared hilarity and snacks. And while I may still struggle with fire and navigation, I can confidently tell you this. If you are ever in need of humor, a pack of snacks, and a dose of necessary camaraderie, well, you just need to hit the trails. If you're lucky, you'll walk away inspired to become the next survival master, or at the very least, laugh as hard as I do every time I try to remember where I parked my Subaru. The ride home, reflecting on our adventures. As we barrel down the winding dirt roads, dust clouds swirling like a confetti parade, I find myself reflecting on the day's antics, a kaleidoscope of laughter, chaos, and the strangely wonderful bond of shared obscurities among my eccentric team of off-road warriors. The sun hangs low in the sky, providing the perfect backdrop for a ride home where we revel in the glory of our latest escapades. I've often wondered why the ride home feels like a retrospective montage complete with sappy background music that no one wants but everyone secretly loves. Hannah, who is perched next to me in the passenger seat, expresses her bubbling energy as if she's just completed a marathon on an amusement park ride. Did you see the way the squirrel stared at me? She giggles, reiterating what was honestly an absurd interaction. While I might have cringed, she wore it like a badge of honor, absurd in her wild dreams of one day winning the hearts of every critter in the forest. Meanwhile, Roger is in the back seat, attempting to imitate Hannah's enthusiastic squirrel dance, only to get tangled up in his own limbs like a deer in headlights trapped in a Congo line. The car becomes a whirlwind of giggles, each laugh documenting the chaotic trails we've survived, creating a soundtrack to our shared history. As our Subaru jolts over bumps, I can't help but revisit the snippets of our day. The mudslide of doom that left us splattered and laughing on the ground, Hannah's hair sporting twigs like a makeshift tiara, and my inept attempts to win a marshmallow roasting contest against a fire that didn't exist. These are the moments I hold on to dear. Secrets tucked in the nooks and crannies of our friendship. Reflecting on the ridiculousness makes me feel like a proud parent who gets every inside joke and silly reference on the way home from a family carnival trip. Then, almost like a feather hitting the ground silently, Roger suddenly brings up the lost dog incident. In his reveling, it is mortifyingly beautiful. We were literally those circus clowns trying to course 17 puppies into the back seat, he chuckles. And I'm once again tearing up at a memory defined by the chaos of tangled leashes and how friendship looks a whole lot like a mess. I recount my bewilderment during the escapade. Nobody could have prepared me for how adorable dogs, even in their chaotic glory, could stir up a hitchhiking dog brigade in our designated Subaru. Halfway through the ride, I can't help but philosophize about the philosophize about what it really means to experience adventure like these. Sure, the destination is important. After all, we set our searching for grandeur in nature's finest treasures. But don't the glorious detours provide the literal spice of life? They're the unexpected twist filled instead with falling straight into mud pits and forgetting to pack enough snacks. There's beauty in the absurd, an artistic portrayal of our lives that contrasts the mundane with the magnificent. As we finally see the city skyline shimmering in the distance, it strikes me that these outings have transformed into a ritual, an art we cultivate. They allow us to peek back layers of monotony and rediscover each other, basking in the shimmering absurdity of the world and how these cherished experiences become part of our identity, rather than a mere collection of road trips. It's almost poetic how we brave the whims of Mother Nature, how she drives us into an escapade that ultimately brings us closer. And then there's Trent, who pipes up from the back seat with a serious tone. You know, we might be the only group that rates our adventures by how many times we almost died, or the number of squirrels we annoyed. His deadpan delivery sends us into fits of laughter. I'm pretty sure today was a solid 9 out of 10, we laugh, reminding ourselves that life is indeed a continuous rating system, one that triumphantly points toward camaraderie wrapped in hilarity. By the time we roll into our neighborhood, I realize that these reflective moments linger longer than any muddy shoe print I might carry inside. They are etched into our hearts. The beautiful messiness of adventure that makes everything worthwhile. As I turn off the ignition, I take a deep breath. I could not have asked for a better travel companions or risk takers on this wild journey of life. Here, my Subaru might hold the tales of our madness, but each adventure we share transforms us, imprinted in memories, always waiting for the next glorious ride home. The Hopecast Network has reached out to MTD for further questioning on these events. His whereabouts are unknown at this time.